If you or someone you know has a rescued cat in the Chilliwack area, chances are good that Ena Vermerris was somehow connected to it. The self-proclaimed cat lady passed away last year, leaving behind a legacy of housing thousands of felines with their kitty-loving human counterparts. She called them all her babies, and the former nurse kept infinite room in her heart for them. When we met a decade ago, she worked tirelessly for the animals 7 days a week, from 5 a.m. to noon at the shelter, and then as late as needed, running around between her regular veterinarian and house calls. I recently sat with 2 board members of Ena's community cats, Marieke and Collette to hear about Ena's impact on the cat and human populations alike, and how the organization plans to continue in honor of the late and great Ena Vermerris. I'm Greg Lachek, and this is Revisited, a visual podcast about reconnection. Each episode, I interview people I'd written about as a reporter almost 10 years ago. We talk about what they've been up to in the last decade, how it relates to when we met, and what direction they're pointed toward moving forward. For a bit of fun along the way, we create a photography project together, capturing a snapshot of us now that will live into the future. And now, Ena Vermerris' story. So I have here Marieke and Collette. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
We're here to talk about a very special woman, Ena Vermerris. So first of all, tell us about Ena and what she did for the community and how she's missed here in Chilliwack.
Ena had a huge presence in the community. She helped people with getting their cats spayed-neutered, mostly people that were on low income or disability assistance, that sort of thing, people that weren't able to drive, didn't have a license, didn't have a car. She would go pick up the animals, get them to the vet and back, and doing that, she also connected with the community to help in many other ways.
That part of it kind of came as an afterthought after starting up the Chilliwack Animal Safe Haven. When she founded that program, she realized that there was a need. There was way too many cats coming in that needed to be loved and sent to their forever home. And so she thought, well, let's, while we're doing that, we'll try to nip it in the bud at the source. So then she started the spay-neuter program.
She is very missed by a lot of people that relied on her to help with animal care, and in most cases cats, of course, but also for advice.
The outpouring of responses to the announcement of her passing, I love Ena, but I didn't realize how many other people love Ena and have relied on her. I've had numerous people actually that are still contacting me saying that they miss her weekly visits. So yeah, she's definitely missed. Yeah, she was beyond just caring for the animals. She
cared about the people too, yeah, very much so.
I met Ena in 2006 when I was asked to become treasurer of the Chilliwack Animal Safe Haven. She had it up and running, I think, since 2003, and I came on board onto the executive and found out right away that she was a go-getter, and we hit it off right away. She ended up becoming basically one part of our family. She moved into the house next door, and when she sold her house out on Press Road, and basically became grandma to my grandkids as well.
That's amazing. Yeah. How about you?
And I met Ena at the hospital in 2001. She was working as a nurse still, but getting close to retirement. We also met up again, I was already volunteering at the SPCA, and then she decided to volunteer at the SPCA as well. At the SPCA, I would say that we started connecting more because we both realized that obviously we like animals. And so when she started up the Chilliwack Animal Safe Haven, a few years later I decided to go there and volunteer. She liked my cleaning skills and everything else that I was apparently doing right. And so we really became good friends after that. And I ended up volunteering more than I think I had time for, but Ena was that person that she worked incredibly hard, and you just wanted to be that person to help her along with it. But yeah, wherever there was a need, we helped. And after that, when she decided to start Ena's Community Cats, I followed along with her there and did some fostering for her here and there, because she still managed to do adoptions even if she didn't have a shelter. She was determined that she would make this work. And with that as well, when the spay-neuter program, I would drive along with her. She did let me drive once in a while, but she mostly drove. But I helped with getting the cats in and out and driving to and from the vet, and there was always extra stuff that we were doing.
Yeah. So when I first met Ena, she had just resigned from Chilliwack Animal Safe Haven. What came out of that?
That's when Ena's Community Cats was created. The board at Chilliwack Animal Safe Haven had taken a different philosophy to how she works. And she had a philosophy that was all about having the volunteers come in and it really be a volunteer-run organization. And so when it was turning away from that, she resigned and decided to start her own. So Ena's Community Cats came along, and she didn't have the shelter, so she did a lot of fostering. But the spay-neuter program continued with her, and she was busy with that right up to, right up till the time she passed, and she stayed with the spay-neuter program, which then she ended up getting to her magical number of over 8,500 cats.
Wow.
Yeah, that had been spayed or neutered.
Yeah, it's incredible.
She was very proud of those numbers. Yeah, that was announced every now and then, how her numbers were going up and how much lives she really saved by running that program. Her focus really remained on getting the numbers down for the unwanted homeless cats in this community, because having had spent so much time in that environment with the Chilliwack Animal Safe Haven, she knew that needed to still be continued. And so her focus was very much on helping people who financially were perhaps not able to afford all of that, to help them and still get those animals fixed, so she could get those numbers down and help the community in that way. And in the meantime, through that, other opportunities would come up as well, as helping people that had cats that already had litters, that she would do the adoption program where the people would still adopt through her. And then this way it sort of somewhat created the foster homes. So she was also able to help the little kittens at 5 months to get them scheduled into the vet and have them fixed. So that would still help with reducing the overpopulation.
And how did it come to be that the four of you were the board for this new organization?
None of us ever met, really. I never met Collette before that, but I think I knew Collette very well before already, because Ena spoke highly of her and often of her. So I think I knew Collette already a lot. And then Barb was Ena's very good friend, and Amber was very helpful with setting up a lot of the stuff for business-wise, so to speak, with Ena's Community Cats. So the four of us all had a meaning, a purpose with Ena. We were all
a different role. We all played a different role.
Yeah, we were all friends with her for different reasons, and the four of us now together sort of fill in the needs that we need to do to continue what she started.
That's great. So for people who maybe aren't cat people and they just kind of don't get it, you mentioned overpopulation. So what is the point of all of this? What is the point of rescuing cats in our community?
I don't think people realize that there is even an issue until you go into some areas of the city, and you just see the call, like for her, I don't think she realized it was an issue at when she first started, but the number of cats and the number of calls that she was getting about, that the cats, I've got 4 cats that are, living in my barn. I've got 6 cats that are, that I'm feeding nightly because they're on the street. Those kind of calls. And those, it would break her heart that these cats would be out fending for themselves. And she wanted to help with that. And she worried about them on the roads and worried about them with the animals. And she took it upon herself to
a big heart for cats and a big heart for people. And I think she always figured that if she helps the cats, she's helping the people.
She was a nurse as her career, so obviously she cared for people. Is there a connection there?
I think it's always been the two of them together. But her big passion was indeed helping people. That's why she became a nurse, and she took that very serious.
It's wonderful.
And she was an excellent nurse too.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I've had, again, the fortune of being able to connect with some of these people that knew Ena, and there was a few that were her patient, and you couldn't have asked for a better nurse, because she was an incredible advocate for her patients.
Yes.
She was very caring and compassionate, but definitely spoke for what they needed.
And that carried through with the cats. I think those two. She did that for the cats as well.
What was Ena's personality like?
She had a strong personality.
Yes.
She was set in her certain ways, but a big heart. She had such
Very
a big
compassionate.
heart.
Yeah, she was compassionate.
And she was fair. She was really fair. She could see 2 sides of the stories, and I know some of the struggles sometimes I had a little bit with, who we were all helping kind of thing, and maybe perhaps we're not always helping the right people. She always said it's about the cats, and you're always helping people with that too. So she was fair.
She was strong-willed.
Yep.
And but she had a great sense of humor. She was a hard worker, definitely a hard worker, and a do-it-yourself type. Like she didn't. When you said she was fair, she did not ask of anyone any more than what she would have done herself. So she was just, she.
And I feel she was. So many things she did, she never expected anything for it in return. She just did it out of the goodness of her heart, her willingness to help. And for me, that was one of those things that I was always willing to help her wherever she needed some help, but she wouldn't ask for it.
What was the force behind, what drove Ena to do all of this?
She grew up in the Netherlands till she was 15. Her dad worked on a horse farm, or a horse ranch, I guess, and with Clydesdales, and there was animals. They had rabbits and they had animals and cats, of course. She was just always around animals, and she would go out with her dad quite often. She would work with her dad. Even when they came here, she spent a lot of time on the farms. Her dad ended up working on the farms here in the Chilliwack, Abbotsford area when they first moved here. And she would go out with her dad because he didn't speak English at first, so she would go as the translator. And so she spent a lot of time with animals and on the farm, and she had I think a special relationship with her dad, and he cared for animals, and I think that just came through with her too. In fact, the story I know, like the one story of when she was when the dikes broke before they moved here, when they immigrated here in '53, and the reason they did was their whole area got flooded. There was storms and the dikes broke, and they were rescued basically from the roof. She had a cat in her sweatshirt, and it was priority to save the animals. I remember her even saying that as they were there, they actually saw animals drifting away. So it tore at her heart then, and so I don't know whether that, instilled it in her, or it was just,
Yeah, incredible. That's a great look into her past.
Yeah.
Ena's community cats, the board has decided to continue on.
We're going to continue on what she started and what her dream was. And her purpose, I think every morning she get up, and this is what's her purpose, to make a difference, to change the world in whatever small or big way we can. And between the four of us, we fill each other in. We put in our volunteer time, and we're making this work, and hopefully we'll do her proud. We're definitely realizing how big of an impact she had in the community after her passing. So there's definitely a strong need to continue on what she did.
Yeah, so 4 people doing what one person did, it's fair to say. So how do you fit that into your lives with family and work and different things?
We just squeeze it in.
I think it's just been a part of our lives for a long time. You've been volunteering since 2000 and
well, we all
whatever.
have really. We've all been volunteering already with her for so long that we just continuing on, and
almost 20 years.
It's a little bit more now than what we used to do, because obviously that's what Ena did. So it's a little more now, but I think we can also divide it over people, so that helps a little bit. And other than that,
I think our families are pretty supportive, and I think it's been a good role modeling for our children to
my cats know my kids know a lot about cat rescue.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel to be able to honor her legacy with continuing it?
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I admire her so much more now. I realize now how much work she did. I only saw part of it, I think, maybe.
I think we each only saw a part of it.
But even like the posts on Facebook that people are talking about, oh, Ena helped me with this and Ena helped me with that, and it's like it just brings such a smile to my face. I'm like, wow, you had such an impact on this community. So many people knew you or knew of you, and yeah, it's an honor to carry that on. What
would Ena want for the future of this community?
Obviously, responsible pet ownership. That would be, ultimately the spay-neuter program was her biggest thing that she overall did a lot of, hence the numbers, right? So responsible pet ownership would definitely be part of that. And Ena, and I think she would just want people to recognize that cats are an important part of people's lives, and they matter, and what we can do to help other people that otherwise would not be able to take good care of their animals, such as spay-neutering, that we can help them and be good pet owners and have animals in their lives that enrich their lives too.
Yeah, just to make sure that there's no cats that are homeless, and that every cat is being loved.
In talking to you about the photo project idea, Marieke, you brought up Ena's diaries, and that inspired me. That was something I needed to include. So tell us a little bit more about the diaries that she kept.
So she was impeccable with her bookkeeping, if you will, or making her notes and keeping track of the cats coming in and out of the. This goes back to the Safe Haven days, but even after with Ena's community cats, she just kept track of every spay-neuter that she did, and she had all these notebooks with lots of information. And one of the entries we found was from my cat that I adopted through her, and all the notes, my name and phone number and everything in it, and even the day that she went over the Rainbow Bridge. Yeah. That's how everything was just impeccable. And
oh, she was, it was amazing how organized she was that way. Yeah. She had, and that's how come we knew exactly how many cats, because she had her total, she had her calendars.
Yeah.
So was that, had you ever seen the entry for Kitty Lou before?
No.
No, so that was new? Yeah, oh, interesting. And so I'll make one of Kitty Lou, one of these kind of Polaroid lift is what this is called. So yeah, when I heard about the diaries and you showed me, I thought, oh, I have to include them in the art somehow. And so I decided I'd find people in the diary who were willing to meet and have a picture taken of their cat. Go take a picture. So this is Tigger, formerly known as Elmo. And so Terry, the owner, allowed me to come over, take a picture of Tigger. And then what I do is basically I take the Polaroid, cut it around the edges, I submerge it in hot water, and then you're left with this like really delicate image layer, and it will bind to whatever you put it on.
Wow.
So then I printed out, I copied the diary entry, scanned it. Because I have to redact some information, I didn't want any personal information on there, I scanned it, and then I'd print that out, and then I used that. You're like still in the water working with this, and then it kind of settles on there and it comes out so that, and this is a better example here, I feel like, because you can really see the writing through it, right? Whereas the longer you wait, the longer the Polaroid sits, the harder it is to, like it comes with this white background more. Unfortunately, I might go do another shoot there because the better picture was older. The one that it worked best on was not as good a picture, so you can't see the cat's face. But so
That looks really neat.
So, like, I'm interested in your opinions in terms of, you know, like, can you talk about what the handwriting does for you? What does that evoke? And so
I think it makes us laugh because it's because it was hard to decipher sometimes, and even for her, especially names. Like I would have to do charitable receipts, so I would have to have a name, an address, you know, to mail this out, and I would take it. She hand wrote every receipt, and she hand wrote every thank you card,
Christmas
every
card.
she like again, no computer, but she loved to write. But to decipher, I would hand her and say, is that a G or a B? And she'd go, oh, I don't know.
So very unique handwriting.
Very unique.
Very.
Yes.
And but there's Ena in this, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I see her sitting at that desk in her kitchen, writing.
Yes, that's where she sat.
Yeah.
Every
Her calendar
every
there
day.
and her books.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Every day she would sit at the desk and do all her writing, all her note taking. It was her organization was just incredible.
Yeah.
Part of what I was thinking and seeing as I was doing this too was it's the connecting, right? Like this is a cat whose life was affected by that journal entry or the person behind it or the care behind that. Yeah. And unfortunately people don't want to be in the pictures with the cats because that's just how we are most of the time. But my original idea was to include the owner and the cat and to show that, you know, Ena was responsible for connecting these two beings and
I just recently read a letter, or maybe it was a comment anyway, about how somebody had shown up at the safe haven to pick out a cat, kind of knew exactly what they wanted, and Ena was like, oh, I've got a cat for you, after that she had, you know, done an interview type process, and at first they were like, well, that's not what I asked for, that's not what they took the cat home, and it was exactly what they needed.
She had a way of matching animals with people.
Yeah. I knew a couple people that said that. Yeah.
That's amazing. She could just tell when she met someone.
Yeah.
And she
and
knows
it wasn't so much that she was trying to please the person. I think she was just trying to find the right fit for the cat. So and it always,
you only have to do it once.
Yes.
You know, you get
and it
right
always
the
seemed
first
to work out.
That's amazing. I love that person.
Yeah, she knew her cats.
Yeah.
And then she could figure out with what people,
Right.
Yeah.
And she even
It's
had
the
the
reverse
she
of
even
how
had
you would normally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again so much for agreeing to do this and spending your time here.
and thank you for doing this. This has been great to honor Ena and all the good she's done. So
Great.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
And I'm sure you'll continue to do it moving forward.
we will try.
Yeah.
Perhaps not as good as she was doing
I
it,
don't know
but
if we can fill her shoes quite the way.
exactly.
Yeah.
But we will try.
Great. That's it for this episode of Revisited. Thank you for joining, and please be sure to check out more.